Welcome to all. In the previous session, we have discussed about the professional preparation of teachers. We have seen what is a profession and how teaching can be considered as a profession. Welcome back. Normally, we may think that while observing the behavioral patterns of different professionals, don't we feel that professional ethics is important? In today's session, we will discuss about the professional ethics of the teachers, its importance, professional identity, and after watching this video, you should be able to develop understanding about the concept of professional ethics. To differentiate between professional ethics and code of conduct, and to develop understanding about the various strategies that is used for developing professional ethics among teachers. Various commissions and committees, they have stressed the importance of professional ethics of teachers. When we closely read the NEP 1986 policy, it stated thus: the status of the teacher reflects the socio-cultural ethos of a society. It's a very relevant statement that reveals that the status of the teacher. What should be the status of the teacher? You know that we have to be honest in our profession and there should be integrity. Things such as honesty and integrity may be required by the code of ethics that many professional teaching organizations uphold. So in today's discussion, we will go deeply into the code of ethical conduct in the teaching profession. As professionals, teachers are constantly engaged with the principles outlined in a critical manner, taking into account the educational value of the particular relationships with persons within particular teaching and learning situations and processes. The code is intended to encourage teachers to adopt an informed approach to the teaching and its context and to reflect on the good and correct practices as professional teachers. A teacher shall endeavor to be a role model and shall act within the community in a manner which enhances the prestige of the profession. Why do teachers need professional ethics? When we look at the profession of teaching, we know that the roles of teacher are changing. In the 21st century, we can see there are multiple roles of teacher: as a facilitator, as a problem solver, as a ICT supporter, as a counselor. So besides the teaching learning process, we can see there are multiple roles of teachers. Normally, one question may come in your mind: what is the difference between professional ethics and code of conduct? We have seen what is professional ethics. So when we look at the concept of professional ethics, we can define it as the guidelines of code that provide direction in enhancing the dignity of any professional work. It is felt that to ensure its dignity, the status of the teaching profession is to be raised. Teachers need to be diligent professionals with knowledge and skill, personal values, ethical and moral values, and commitment towards their work. Being nation builders, they should serve to keep the profession in the highest possible esteem. We term teaching as a noblest profession globally. As it is a noblest profession, there are expectations on the part of different stakeholders about the behavioral pattern of teachers. Hence, it is necessary to follow the professional ethics of teachers. What do we mean by code of conduct? Code of conduct refers to written rules and regulations about how teachers have to behave in various situations. So here we can see that this professional ethics, it guided the principles of teachers, whereas the code of conduct guided the actions of teachers. So when we acquaint or assimilate some kind of principles, it should be reflected in our actions and behaviors. That reflects the code of conduct. The Code of Professional Ethics for Teachers provides a framework of principles to guide them in discharging their duties towards various stakeholders such as students, parents, colleagues, and community. Increased awareness of the ethical principles governing the teaching profession is essential to ensure professionalism among teachers. I have stated that the teachers are responsible for their actions and activities towards students, towards parents, towards community. So this is very much important. Now let us see what are the duties towards students. The first duty is that in a classroom, or we can term it as a pluralistic classroom, there may be diverse students belonging to various backgrounds, various religion, caste, creed, etc. So it is the duty of the teacher to treat all students with love and affection. Secondly, when we look at the duty of teachers, we can see that the teacher should facilitate students' physical, social, intellectual, emotional, and moral development. What does NEP 2020 state? The holistic development of children. So this holistic development includes the whole dimension, the overall dimensions of development of children. Thirdly, the value of being just and impartial to all students, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, sex, economic status, disability, language, and place of birth. Coming to the next aspect of this professional, the duties, what the teacher has to or how to behave towards students. Respect for basic human dignity of the child in all aspects of school life. Next, makes planned and systematic efforts to facilitate the child to actualize his or her potential and talent. Next, transact the curriculum in conformity with the values enshrined in the Constitution of India. We know that for every curriculum in various countries, it reflects the notion of the national goals, where it is reflected in the Constitution. Coming to the next duty, that is adapts his or her teaching according to the individual needs of the students, maintains the confidentiality of the information concerning students and dispenses such information only to those who are legitimately entitled to it. Next, refrain from subjecting any child to fear, trauma, anxiety, physical punishment, sexual abuse, mental and emotional harassment. Next, keeps a dignified demeanor commensurate to the expectations from a teacher as a role model. Let us see the duties towards parents, community, and society. What is the duty that a teacher should do towards parents, community, and society? The first duty, that is, establishes a relationship of trust with parents, guardians in the interest of all-round development of students. Number two, desist from doing anything which is derogatory to the respect of the child or his or her parents or guardians. Then strives to develop respect for the composite culture of India among students. And now we are giving emphasis for the cultural values or the traditional values in any country. Then the next one, that is, keeps the country uppermost in mind, refrains from taking part in such activities as may spread feelings of hatred or enmity among different communities, religious or linguistic groups. So we have seen the two duties towards students and towards parents and community. Now comes the duty towards the profession and colleagues. So here the most important duty, it is to strive for his or her continuous professional development, creates a culture that encourages purposeful collaboration and dialogue among colleagues and stakeholders, takes pride in the teaching profession and treats other members of the profession with respect and dignity, and refrains from engaging himself or herself in private tuition or private teaching activity. Then comes the next duty towards the profession, that is, refrains from accepting any gift or favor that might impair or appear to influence professional decisions or actions, refrains from making unsubstantiated allegations against colleagues or higher authorities, avoids making derogatory statements about colleagues, especially in the presence of pupils, teachers, parents, maintains confidentiality of information concerning colleagues and dispenses such information only when authorized to do so. Then we can see that it's essential for the teachers to practice this professional ethics in their profession. For what purpose? This professional ethics and code of conduct helps to maintain self-regulation on the part of teachers. When we look at the observance of the professional code of ethics, what is needed is that I have told you that a self-regulation is important. And this professional ethics and code of conduct is very much useful in creating an inner urge to adhere to the ethical principles listed in the Code of Professional Ethics for teachers. So it is happening internally, whereas These internalized statements or principles is reflected in our actions or behaviors, which we term it as the code of ethics. According to National Council of Teacher Education, NCT, a teacher should recognize that every child has a fundamental right to education, recognize that every child has an inherent potential and talent, recognize the need to promote the concept of the composite culture of India and a sense of national identity, recognize the need to enhance the self-esteem of teachers, recognize that teachers being an integral part of social milieu, share the needs and aspirations of the people, realizing that the community respect and support for the teachers are dependent on the teachers' professionalism. Realizing the need for self-direction and self-discipline among members of the teaching community. Then we can see that this professional ethics, when we practice, another term which is related with that is the professional identity of teachers. We know that every person has got self-identity, but this professional identity and the role of teachers, it's a different matter. Identity is dependent upon and formed within multiple contexts, formed in relationship with others and involves emotions. Teacher identity can be best characterized as an ongoing process, a process of interpreting oneself as a certain kind of person and being recognized as such in a given context. Professional identity should not be confused with role. Identity is the way we make sense of ourselves to ourselves and the image of ourselves that we present to others. The individual constructs his or her identity through the eyes of others. So, from their opinion, that type of identity is developing. The professional identity of a teacher is the result of a long process to construct one's own way of feeling like a teacher. However, it also includes competencies for the daily practice of the profession. In this process, several factors play a key role in configuring the identity one way or the other. Their school experience as students, the possible attraction of teaching, their first modeling in the initial teacher training, and the beginning of their professional practice. Professional identity crisis refers to a situation when the teachers are not able to meet out the emerging trends and demands expected from them as a result of certain educational reforms. We know that through these policies, we have to oblige by adopting the new strategies. For this, when the teachers are not able to meet the demands according to the changing scenario of the teaching learning strategies, there occurs the professional identity crisis. The professional identity is a socially constructed and personally recreated experience with its own meaning, sense, and intentionality. Teachers subjectively experience their work and the conditions of their professional identities. These identities are understood as the space of personal identification, their perceptions of the job, their attitudes towards educational change, their professional trajectory and its projection in the future, their perception of their status and social recognition, and their relationship with the social environment. So we have seen the differences between the professional ethics of teachers and the code of conduct. What are the strategies that we can adopt to address the issues of professional development of teachers? So here we know that the professional ethics and professional code is important as it helps to regulate oneself and it is reflected in our actions and behaviors. But for this, we need some kind of professional development. What are the strategies? The first one, the strategy that we can adopt for professional development is development of a network among institutions and individuals of various educational departments. Next, organization of workshops for content and pedagogy enrichment. Number 3, developing training capacity for action research projects and ICT applications. Development of a set of indicators and benchmarks to track in-service professional development of teachers and the institutions which organize them. Development of short-term courses for continuous professional development and upload them on their website. Devise open and distance learning strategies for professional development of the teacher. So when we look at the present pre-service training program, whether this is achieved or not. So this is an important thing that we have to keep in mind. The present training programs, there is a gap between the theory and the practice, and it may not be including all the aspects that leads to the professional development of teachers. So it is an important aspect when we think in terms of improving the actions and behaviors of teachers. Hope that you have understood about the difference between professional ethics of teachers and code of conduct, and what are the duties of teachers towards students, parents and community, and how they have to be committed to their profession. So this is an important thing because as teachers, I have told you that they have to interact with various people and they have multiple roles. And for this professional ethics and code of conduct is important for every teacher. Thank you.